Well, hello everyone. Matthew 31 here, also known as Humanity 25 here, and you talk about right here of for Becky-David Elementary School 2018. And you see right here is I went ahead and drew right here is like a little picture diagram right here of the school and as well as with the playground right here. And I was also thinking about I'm like yeah that some of the stuff looks some of it that looks a little bit closer together compared to on in real life on the map. You say over there on Jung Station Road in St. Charles, Missouri. But you have right here is an example right here of the school right here, and then as well as that you have right here that I went ahead and painted right here a little bit detail right there of like the grass like you have right here is the the yard right here for where the playground sets will be placed in, and it'll be like a few trees right here. So I know if anybody warrants us toward it, how come that you did not include any further detail like the trees and maybe that if there was like because I know whenever I was going there that there were two playgrounds. One I think if I can remember on the north and then the south side or so, but still that anybody is like say that kids that go there from kindergarten to the fourth to the fifth grade or so, but and I can tell anybody here, whenever I was in the sixth grade, I was even going there. I might that sixth grade years that they still put recess time on the schedule also. But you see right here is I went ahead and put together right here are some ideas right here of a playground for year 2018. And if anybody warns us toward it, yeah, that anything about you which may not match especially for anything about for the playground sets. But you see right here is with this playground right here that we can see this right here for tunnel surf. That I want to go ahead and talk about this right here, mainly because it was like an idea that they have right here. It's like a glide of stairs. If any kids that may like getting on the monkey bars or maybe going up a few steps or stairs, and whenever they're out on the playground that they like climbing things. So this right here would be an example right here if I tunnel surf. And if anybody has heard of like a tunnel ball before, where you toss the ball into like a little basket, bucket, and then it comes out, and there's like four different sides that the ball will come out, and you would catch it whenever it came out. You can go to the next player, something like that. But you see right here is that with this tunnel ball, this tunnel surf. Besides tunnel ball, this tunnel surf, and with it, the tunnel surf drawing that I went ahead and displayed right here is this right here would be like a tunnel. And if any kids like this right here will be built in the ground. You're built in the ground where it would go up higher ground. So if any kids that weren't like whenever they're going to be out on the playground that they like the playground equipment to where that they are easily that they go up a higher ground, and then they are able to slide down to lower ground. So you have right here an example right here of a slide, and you have right here is a swing. So this right here would be like an example right there of the kickball area, as well as for the tether ball and the place where you can line up, and then for the kids to line up, and as well as the four square, and then for the basketball, basketball areas, but still, and you have right here's like a little arch you'll climb in the area for the kids to climb on. So that's just a thing that with the details right here, I went ahead and drew right here of for the school of Becky-David Elementary School. And if any kids that may warrant toward it, yeah, that you're going to be going to the school and warrant toward it, yeah, especially I was thinking about whenever I was doing this activity, if I want to go ahead and draw as toward it, if it were to be what you call that, yeah, if it were to be taking place, maybe around springtime. Go ahead and change the size here, but around the springtime, that have it to where that it will be taking place around the springtime, and I'm like, yeah, that far as 2 years from now or so into the future, if anybody wants this story, yeah, that I was also thinking about if I want to go ahead and talk a little bit also about online. I'm like if most kids are going to be online, and think about it as to where they're going to be out on the playground, during recess time, and think as to where they would be playing a game of Foursquare or kickball, and let's just say if they lost a round, and at the time, like one tour, how are kids handling it to where that kids that made fun of them because that you didn't kick the ball right, or maybe that you were not moving in the right direction or something like that. And so that's just a thing, though, for any source of playground you have right here is that with the playground set. And the way I drew part of this right here with crayons. So if I can go ahead and have right here is this was right here was grass right here, and got right here is a soccer field right here, and then you got right here some grassy areas right here, and I don't know if the sidewalk, there would be like a little walk area about right here, but I'm like, yeah, quite a few things seem like they're pretty close together, but still just trying to draw in as much detail as I can just to kind of show a little bit of details of the playground right here. But from the last activity, talk about for playground memories, that I did not, of course, include this right here, this playground set. So I know that since then they may have renovated the school, they may have put in some new playground equipment. So they, like that, some of the stuff that I know that was on the other side, say of the school. And I guess if you are weren't toward it, yeah, what would the playground be considered so far as the school? I guess some students that may look at it as to where it's supposed to be like if it's supposed to be like the backyard of the school. And I don't know if too many kids that want to look at it as to where like the backyard of the school, but I using right here is a blog brush, but just zooming in right here so we can see this right here, because the way I drew this with the pen right here, and it's it's kind of small from the original drawing until I was able to pull it up right here on convert it to illustration right here so we can see this. But you have right here some examples right here of the playground equipment sets. You have right here is for jungle you got jungle twist right here, and then you have right here for tunnel surf. But have right here for tunnel surf, but tunnel surf right here will be like you'll be able to climb up the stairs, like the bouncy shaky or so stairs, and you'll be able to get up to a higher floor, and there would be like a rail right here where the kids would be able to get up a higher ground and then go back to low. If any kids that whenever that they are out on the playground that they like running around, and then let's just say that the stairs expands to about maybe 10 feet, something like that. So it would be like a playground set that would be what you call it installed in the ground, and kids will be able to run in there and run up to higher ground and then go back to lower ground. But they have it there for tunnel surf. But tunnel surf is a name that I gave it, by the way. I could maybe thought about something else, but and you have it here for jungle twist. A jungle twist where kids two kids can maybe what you call it swinging at the same time. And jungle twist where like a little bar a bar type of playground equipment where the kids kind of like the monkey bars, but then it would do like say like a twist type motion to where the kids would be able to it would be able, it would spin, I guess, in like a rotating direction, and then it would change directions after about maybe close to a minute or so. But still, that have right there for jungle twist, and you have right here's the tire swing. So I don't know if all this playground equipment sets would be at the school as of right now. That I'm sure that they changed quite a bit since whenever I was going there to Becky-David Elementary School. But have right here is example right here. This was right here was like the blacktop right here, at the school, and I'm like, yeah, that there would be like a portion right here to where kids would be able to run around, with their friends on the playground, and enjoy the Foursquare. And so you have right there that working right there, blog brush. So you have right there is like with the playground right there, and this kind of reminds me of yeah, I know I mentioned it before, but still that just kind of so from anybody who's watching my work, especially on YouTube, and they're like worrying toward it. Yeah, that back whenever they were going to the school, that you like say like there was an area where you can line up. Whenever recess time was over, there were some. There will be an area where that. Yeah, the kids will be able to line up, next to the tether ball. I would probably say that there's lines. Yeah, a lot of things seem like they're kind of all squished in. But I want to go ahead and just let everybody know that yeah, I want to go ahead and try to include as much detail as I could without having to use two different separate pieces of paper just to draw this. But this was right here, yeah, a kickball area right here, and I mean that's just a thing that back whenever I was going to school that basketball and tetherball, if I can remember right, which game and which activity was which called the most popular. And if anybody warrants this tour, more likely the basketball, but still that right here is a tree right here, and I know that there will be a few trees at about right here. So if anybody warrants this tour, talk to the artist like, and how come you didn't include the trees? It's like, yeah, that the dude. And if anybody warrants this tour, that yeah, that you do trees, and that they would probably suggest you ask the kids not to be climbing up on the trees, and maybe that they may not mind it, maybe at times, but still that. Are trees really a part of the playground equipment? And like I say, there is going to be a few trees out there, and they ask us to where to stay, around the playground area, to where that, on a swing, and as well as, getting up, jumping around. I guess on the slide right here, and then you have right here. This is another example right here of a playground set. These examples right here are playground equipment that I don't really know by hand about what they are called, but I can go and describe them right here. Is this right here would be like stairs, like a ladder, to where I'm sure kids that whenever they're out on a playground that they may likely like climbing things. So they're going to have like a playground set right here to where the kids will be able to hop on one of those and be able to climb and get higher level, and then bounce around. But still, that whenever kids are on the playground, that here like learn to where that you need playground equipment that they may enjoy a lot of times. If it's about being with their friends, or if it's about maybe about the fact about that the playground equipment that they actually like, maybe like to bounce up and down, and maybe like going down the slide a couple of times, maybe going down the slide backwards. And I don't know if anybody wondering if they're going to have kids, that you ask them as to where that why is it that you enjoy going down the slide backwards, and maybe if you like swinging backwards, how come that some kids enjoy doing that? Because that sometimes though that they would suggest not to go down the slide, or go up on a swing or so backwards. I guess maybe just to just to check it out, and maybe there's another classmate that may mentions to the student to where hey, that y'all try that out and see if it. Yeah, like if you want to say that a student that just sees this to where, well, you want to go ahead and try going this way or try going that way, and we done the same thing many times, and to where you want to go ahead and try a new trick. And I guess it seems like to where if any students, well, I say about the rules that were to be the rules, but if you're going to be trying that, if you're going to be getting on and playing on something, maybe going the opposite, then sometimes that people will say that yeah, that you're going to be out on the playground, and maybe playing with something just a little bit different. You'll compare from somebody else that may suggest that you go ahead and try doing the same thing, but then go in a different direction. So I don't know if it's about as to where maybe safety hazards, or if it's about as to where that for I guess everybody else is going to be different whenever they're out out at recess, and they're going to be playing at the games and then hanging out with their friends, and maybe not all kids are going to be what you call it same. And the kids that may ask the other kids is to where that they pretend to be somebody else, maybe a captain or character or something like that. If anybody were, yeah, any kids, I'm gonna say that's gonna maybe remind them a lot of times whenever they were kids, and thinking about whenever they were out on the playground, and you're like wanting to where yeah, that whenever you enjoy a game of tag or something like that, and then you'll be out on the playground and want to know, like that, yeah, that a lot of those kids out on the playground that ask you is to where that, hey, that would you go ahead and try playing the game, but then going the opposite direction. I know that for like Foursquare though, that if any kids are going to be playing Foursquare, and I can go ahead and draw some examples. Yeah, like Foursquare right here, and with Foursquare, that kids would be going out and playing a game of Foursquare, and they would maybe want to play the game just a little bit differently, just because that see how well that the competition goes, just by for the other player, that's going to see if the other player is going to outbeat you if you play the game just a little bit different. But that could maybe result in safety hazards as well. But during a time, and I know that I mentioned before about this, about yeah, that whenever about my artwork and knowing about how other kids thought about it, is toward it. Yeah, if you're going to be out on the playground at recess and the kids are gonna they're gonna know at my artwork, especially if I say, yeah, anything about what's called show and tell or anything like that, anything about studying about the weather. And I say show to some of the kids too, maybe a glow in the dark comic book or something like that. And I say, what do you think the kids on the playground are gonna think about anything that you have? And and I don't know. I'm like any anybody. I say that, yeah, kids that hear stories about maybe kids that may bring something to school for show and tell, and maybe if they're going to maybe bring up I don't know coupons, or maybe pogs, or maybe a comic book. And kids are going to be kids, yeah, but still that it seems like at the time that if they're going to be out on the playground, that they're going to want to have their source a way of how they want to get attention. And let's just say a certain amount of times of a year to where they think that they are treated differently compared to to other kids, maybe because that they just transferred and from another school district, and they're not used to everybody else, and so they're just going to go ahead and play the game like just hang out on a swing for those couple of times before that they get in group games with all the other kids. And I know with me though that whenever I was going to school too, that I didn't really I played soccer at times, but still that a lot of times I just watched all the other kids play. And I can tell anybody here that yeah, that a lot of the other kids that always wondered to where that how come you're not interacting with all the other kids. And so that's just a thing that I usually tell them, that, well, yeah, it's whenever I play along, it seems like that people are always going to say that you're not playing the game right. And it's like almost like that they say that, well, you're out of the game because you're not playing it right. So that's just a thing about us, to where if anything about your playground, but playground rules, but still that but you have right here is I want to go ahead and talk about this right here, about if anybody say that if you're going to, especially if the kids are going to have what you call those days to where they're trying to play a game right. And let's just say that kids that that don't agree, that they try to get along with other kids, but let's just say there's a situation to where that they say that they're not playing the game right. And they might say, the teachers a lot of times say that, well, you kids, you're there to learn. You're not really there. It's like, well, if you're not playing the game right, and somebody gives you problems about it, and so you're like, Warren, to where that anything about it, to where if anybody, has anybody ever, asked that, as to where that really are we being graded during recess time? Like, well, if anything, about how you behave with the other students, but still, if anybody warns us to where that. No, not really. I'm like, what? It's basically a time of the day where you can, a break time, from class, where you can get to know a few of your other classmates a little bit better, and just to get to know the school a little bit too. And like I say, weren't, or that, yeah, the school ground that you have right here is like for the back of the school, and for anybody who's going to be who had gone to Becky-David, that they weren't, or that, yeah, that anybody like a foreign artist like me, that like say you're going to be drawing in details of the school right here, because and I can tell anybody here that I remember one classroom that I was in, it was probably back in as early as, I think it was back in 1993, that this class right here that I can zoom in right here too, but zoom in as much as I can. But the classroom, there will be a classroom at about right here, where there will be like, yeah, you'll be able to view the playground from the window right here. But I can remember that a couple of times that I wanted to get on the computer rather than going out to the playground, and it was like, yeah, that you would want to spend time get on the computer and then playing the games on the computer, and then by the time the teachers call out recess, and it's like, like, well, it's your recess time. You ought to go ahead and go out to the playground and then interact, to play with the kids and like with the other. So, and I know that a lot of times that they would say is to where that during recess time that they would say that for anything about for the kids that whenever you go out to the playground, that it's like that basically means is to where about 3 or 4 other classrooms there are going to be all together for recess. So it's like that anybody that you may know a little bit from your class, and let's just say that all the fourth graders, that if they will be divided into, like, let's say, groups of in different classrooms, that there will be like one classroom that would contain about 8 classmates, each one of them altogether about maybe 12 different classmates, including 5 girls and maybe 7 boys or something like that, maybe all boys and all girls in separate classrooms. But then they, especially during specials, and then it's like for music and arts, and then whenever recess time came around, and so that's just a thing that if anybody warrants this toward it, yeah, about playground memories is that that you go out to the playground and you get like you start playing a game, get up on a swing or on a slide, and then you swing a couple times, and then it's like talk about for tunnel surf. But anyway, but you have right here, I'll go ahead and a little bit of detail right there of the slide right here. If anybody wants, do you have right here as an example right there of a slide? And I really don't know if all these playground equipment sets would actually be there. But and I know that there will probably be a lot of trees, and Barnwell Middle School would be about right down here. So if anybody wants is toward it, that wanted to where anything, maybe kids if they want to get online, maybe from their computers, and they're like say that there's like anything such as you say playground online to where that they can actually connect with other friends, and it's like that during recess time that you missed a couple of basket shots from a game of basketball, and or maybe that that you were swinging, but at the time you're like weren't to where there was any the particular rules about going down the slide and on the swing, though. That there was any, like, just like a game of cards, that there you could be playing about maybe 10 different games using the same cards, and you weren't, or what types of games would you be playing necessarily on a swing or on the slide? If anybody warns us to, especially on the swing right here, that you're going to have to swing right here. About how many games do you think that you will be playing on this swing right there, and then compared to the slide? If anybody worries as to that if you will be sliding at an angle, or maybe that any particular way that you can slide, and if you push yourself up down fast enough, then you would be able to do the hip hop, that the bunny hop, down the slide or something like that, the bunny hop. So if anybody thought about this, to a number of times that you've gone down the slide, and kids that may want to try going down the slide, maybe what you call is like maybe doing bumpity bump or something like that, ride or something like that, but still that but the hair right here is like the playground set right here, and then the hair right here is like the tire swinging as well as the jungle twist, and the hair right here is like the tunnel surf, tunnel surf right here. And it's like I say that few other playground sets that I know that anybody say that they may not even actually be on the playground necessarily, but still that with any source of playground sets that they will be up there at the school. But still that if I were to be what you call this artist, drawing into the details right here of the school, and anybody that may warrant to it. Yeah, you're going to draw the detail right there of the school, right? And thinking necessarily to where that, yeah, with the school right there, that you're going to be drawing in the details right there of the playground right there, and thinking necessarily toward it whether students think of your drawings especially. So whenever I was going there to that school, that I can remember that a lot of the kids that knew me a lot, by my drawings. So it's not like to where that that yeah, we played you did very well in a game of kickball or tetherball, or maybe anything about maybe tunnel ball or basketball or any game like that, maybe a game of soccer. And you have right here is like you have right here is the fence right here. But anyway, if anybody wants us toward it, yeah, that I'd like to maybe see a little bit more color or something like that besides the green. And I'm like, yeah, but still, that for anything for online, and I'm like, by the year 2018, I keep thinking that they're gonna have it to where that yeah, what things do we think that our kids could be doing during their recess time, and maybe about anything about what you call is like getting some practice with how to play a game of tetherball or something like that. Some an online website that they can go to just for extra practice, or it's like maybe during school hours, like during the recess time, that they can actually spend more time out there, at the tetherball court and getting some practice with tetherball. So any kids, first day or first, 2 or 3 weeks at school and thinking as toward it that, yeah, the kids are going to be giving them a hard time because they're not playing the game right, or, that they lost too many points or something like that, out of bounds, out of bounds ball or something like that, or something about, yeah, that, hey, that, so whenever kids are out on the playground, that sometimes that whenever you do talk to them, that they may not know you very well. So that's sometimes any kids that say the kids are going to be kids is to where that they want to maybe bring something out on the playground to read until they get to know everybody, or maybe something such as wearing their favorite T-shirt, or maybe glow in the dark tennis shoes or something like that. Maybe bring in like a watch. I'm like, if anybody wants this to where that, if any students are going to maybe want to bring a watch to school, and watch, or maybe besides an iPod, and I know teachers will probably have their rules about that, but still, that kids are going to want to have something just to make them feel more comfortable there at the school, especially if they're going to be out on the playground. And what I know is to where that those kids are going to look at you as like weird. Well, okay, who are you, and what do you like? But still, that how do we know whenever kids want us to join them in the game of what you call any source of activity? And I guess the best answer, it seems like, is toward it that yeah, that it's really, if you just really have to grab a just if you really just had to get a teacher's attention just for them to introduce yourself and just to say that that they would like to join you in this game or something like that. So if anybody wants us toward it, yeah, that I mean, that's what I got a lot of times whenever I was in school. That it's about what about how old were you whenever you knew how to go down a slide, and how to jump up and down, and how to climb up the monkey bars, and how to play the game of soccer, and how to play the game of basketball. And you're like, we're toward it. Yeah, well, you basically learned that sport maybe during that PE time, but other than that, it was recess time. That whenever you go out to the playground, that basically that you watched other kids play, and maybe that you watched and looked at the signs that posted about how to play a certain activity, and sometimes though that for anything about what's called playground related. But there's other schools that I know I could have used also, like Fairmont, and as well as for Henderson and Cosley also. But I'm like, yeah, that for this with this I would have I attended this school for my last year, of course, of elementary school. For whenever I transferred back to Becky-David, that would have been about early of 1996, something like that. That this would have been what's called one of the very last elementary schools that I went to before that I went into middle school. So if anybody wants is toward, yeah, a lot of things that that you changed about the school, but still to think about for April of 2018 is think about is toward that anybody who went to that school and you're like Warren to where learn how to fall down, learn how to get back up, and if anybody warns us to where how do we handle it to where about our about that bullying, about school bullying, about people who didn't treat you very right, so from the first time that you were going to school, but then after about maybe a couple of days or something like that, after about maybe a few weeks, and then they really start to get to know you just a little bit more. And sometimes it seems like to where that's what happens is to where that for kids that they go to school and kids that they want to find something to do and they want to pick on somebody else until that they get to know them just a little bit more. But still, that I guess the principals could probably say it's like, yeah, that that's some of these students that you go to school with them, and then whenever that they do wind up transferring to another school district, or whenever they do graduate, you don't see them very often. So that's just a thing that about being kind to one another, especially, and think about the weather, especially, and even know that for any sorts of playground that whenever you're going up and down on the swing, and especially over there at Becky-David Elementary School, that just think about is that that anything about what's called the playground, that that you're going to be on the playground and want to know about that anything that you basically learn about the playground, because like whenever you're a kid that you may think that the playground may not be a real big playground compared to the national parks, but still that it's a good enough playground, big enough for the kids. A lot of the kids there, in the classroom, to where that they can go out to the playground and enjoy their free time out on the playground, and like during recess time, and just think about it to where that a lot of things that it's like about for what the kids have to be able to play with, but you have right here, and if anybody warrants this toward I could have done a little bit more work, of course, using Photoshop, but still that I can draw like some shadows at about right here, and if anybody warrants to where that use a little bit of your Photoshop work, just to be able to draw some shadows right here for the slide right here, but you have right here for anything about especially around the swing, if I say people probably maybe asked to see some reflection, some shadows right around the the slide, the swing, and then the slides right here, but on your hand too for artwork though, for what artwork tells an artist, and tells especially for the audiences, especially those children who could be watching the work right here, and kind of giving an idea about hey, that this is my work, thanks for watching, and please quit, please like this if you like it, post a comment if you like. So that's just a thing for any kids that they weren't, or that if you're going to be out on the playground, especially if you're going to be any kids that are going to be on those social media sites and they want to start talking about their childhood memories, and the very first thing that they may say that before that they start talking about maybe their favorite comic book character is more likely going to be is toward anything that you may want to talk about even during recess time is about your favorite TV show or something. The first thing that they're going to maybe want to mention, start talking, is toward whenever that they get to go out, whenever they're out on the playground, and so that's just like just to get to know the other classmates as well. But there you have it. And I want to add this right here, this playground set right here, because I'm like, that from the last activity, and I know that anybody who could be watching and thinking as toward it, the last activity talking about that, from whenever I was in school, and think about as toward it, that being picked on, as well as for the only source of attention that I really got during recess is whenever yearbook signing came around, whenever a lot of the classmates would get their yearbooks for the year, and they would be getting them, and they would be signing the yearbooks and saying to her, hey, nice knowing you since the fifth grade, or since the sixth grade, or something like that, and then they would sign the yearbook, and I can remember that whenever I did get my yearbook, that I can remember that it was not in the classroom. So if anybody say maybe not during the history or science project that they took the time to sign your yearbook, it was out at recess. So if anybody warns us toward it, yeah, that during recess time that you would probably get a lot of kids that walk up to you and they would ask, like that they, take the time to sign your yearbook and write a message or two about what they think about you and your work, and then as well as like, for nice knowing you, good luck in the seventh grade. Or so I know quite a few classmates that I know that even in high school that I can remember that it was in class that it would be like something, an activity that they had going on there at the schools toward it whenever school was getting ready to come up to to an end, or whenever that especially around April, whenever kids are getting back from spring break, that they want to go ahead and reach out to other students and write them a message, saying that, hey, nice knowing, you'll keep up the hard work, and they may mention also about some of your talented skills, also about that many about anything, any math programs that they were using, especially on a computer, especially. But the have right here is that I want to also mention right here, which I know that I also got to think about a little bit of the running time too. But still, that back whenever I was young, that I can remember they get on the computer and then playing games on the computer, especially to where if anybody warns us to where, especially if you don't do very well on a test, if there's any kids that if they don't do very well on a test or on an activity, or maybe if they don't answer a few questions right, and especially if it's related to a history, assignment or something like that, during history class or science class, social studies, I guess that they call it social studies in the fourth and fifth grade, and so some students that they say is to her, you didn't do very well on the test, so I'm not going to join you in the game of basketball, out of recess. But it's like, so that's just a thing that for any students that they may want, or you didn't do very well on the test, well, you may have to miss your recess time just to stay in class and to study more, during their free time. Well, you won't be able to go out to the playground this time, but still, a lot of the stuff that I can remember that whenever I was in school, that a lot of times I was able to go out to the playground, but in a couple of times I like to spend time a lot of times on the computer, and that's just the way it seemed like a lot of times it was for me, is to where that if this was right here was example right here of a presentation of like a show and tell presentation. So if anybody will want to where that take right here is it's like the pencil tool, which I know the pencil tool would be available. But anyway, but the pen tool, I see that on Illustrator. You got the pen tool right here, but if anybody warns us to it, that you would be able to show some of the students some of your work, such as you draw the playground, right there, and I even thought about this, and I can remember Clifford, the big red dog Clifford, and if anybody wanted toward it, I remember that I was also a big Clifford reader, so I would always think that talk about the big red dog as well. But anyway, but you see right here, talk about with the playground right here. So I remember that if anybody say, especially whenever there would be like snowy weather outside, especially, and you're like warned toward it, snowy weather, and they would ask you to stay out of the snow and stay only on the blacktop. And so that's just a thing that sometimes it meant you can't get on the swing and you can't go up and down the slide. You had to stay on the blacktop to where like around the kickball area and like around the tethered ball and the four square area. So that's just a thing about you for most, for most playgrounds. But anyway, if anybody warns us toward it, go ahead and draw like and I don't know, I can go ahead and draw an example right here of like a picnic table right here. So if anybody warns us toward it, that I really don't know if there will be a picnic table right there on the playground. But let's just say if there was one, if anybody say that a place where kids can actually sit down and maybe if they actually want to sit down and just to kind of get to know one another just a little bit more, and they're like warrant already, that anything about a place where they want to sit down, or maybe playing a game of tag or something like that. That would be like like a little picnic area, like a table right there where the kids can hang out. But anyway, but talk about right there is like with anything related to like anything about picnic though. But so you go and get the blood. But anyway, yeah, I'll just trying to get the tool to work here, but still, that looked like the layer was locked. But anyway, but I mainly want to mention right here about best for Becky-David for online, and I'm like, I do wonder if they're going to have it to where something by the year 2018 that they're going to have it to where something online to where allow it to where kids can get their practice playing a particular activity or sport, online, and whenever they do see their classmates, during the next school day, and then they are able to tell them that get on a team with them and maybe put challenge them, or maybe if it's anything about what you call doing any type of competition, but still that whenever you're going to be seeing your friends at school, especially, and you're like one to where that some students that they come to school and it seems like you have better chances of making friends more whenever that maybe whenever that yeah, that you start making good grades, and then maybe you start talking more to them, but still that sometimes that they say is to where maybe just to kind of talk to them and show a little bit about what you can do as well. And so that's just a thing that if anybody say that about the question goes by is to where during your recess time that about how many kids that learn about one another best. It's like just like saying during school time that they say is that they say that they are going to be willing to show you some of their freehand drawings, or maybe put together a puzzle or something like that, show you a puzzle that they put together, maybe if it's on an iPod or something like that. But anyway, so that's just a thing, that number of things that kids could be doing during their recess time, but just think about is to where that, yeah, that, anything about what they learned about one another, and you're like Warren, to where that, anything about what you call us, like to where one of those is like to please be kind to one another. But I mean, that's just a thing that with anything about between colors and designs, that being out on the playground, that that's a lot of times what I got is toward it. That whenever I was going there, on the playground, and if anybody wonders as to where you still had recess time in the 6th grade, so it's like if anybody wonders as to where you were still in elementary school whenever you were in the 6th grade, I'm like, yeah. And then they explained that that the schools that there was only so much room there down at the middle school. At the I say now if they even have junior high, but they said that they explained to me that there was no room down at the other school, so that some of the 6th graders that had to be they set up the classrooms over there at the elementary school, for the 6th graders, and I know like with anybody say that compared to the 5th grade and in the 4th and 5th grade though, that they say is that I can remember when in the 6th grade that they would even have it to where that you would be student helpers and 6th grade helpers, where you can go into the 2nd or 3rd grade hallways and the 1st grade hallways, and then you would be able to help out the teachers for what need to be done in class. It is, and I can remember that the teacher would even announce the spelling test especially, but if anybody wants is to where that any source of music, and I kept thinking about that a lot of people, if we a lot of kids that like playing a particular musical instrument, especially during their recess time, and you're like wanting to where that any source of music that they could be playing out on the playground, and a lot of times it's like patty cake bakers, man, or that they would maybe even have jump rope or a hula hoop or something like that. The kids will be playing, the hula hoop or something like that, or skip it out on the playground. But still, that if too many of them, that would maybe be singing a song or something. But anyway, they likely wanted to wear like zippity doo dah and zippity yay, my oh my, what a wonderful day. But so it's like anybody remembers, like, yeah, you go out to the playground and you start talking about one of the TV shows that you may saw around the weekend, and you start talking to one of your classmates about it, and you're like, Warrentor, yeah, well, I actually don't watch too much of that. There's another program that I watch a lot of times, but still, in order to talk to another student, it's like, yeah, that number of ways of how to interact with them, but still, that one way that I have learned from most of the time was, where it says to where showing other students your talents is toward it something that they may not have seen before, and you just want to show them is toward it, yeah, that you want to think of your own. Source of playground says toward it, yeah, that have you ever heard of this, or the jungle twist, or maybe the tunnel surf, playground set, and I wonder if our school is going to be getting these, on the school ground or something. But still, that for any students, it's like, yeah, that if you're going to have siblings or anybody like cousins, they're going to be going to the same school, and you see them, especially out on the playground during recess, and you're like oriented that, yeah, that you'll be playing around, and sometimes it's, you may see them at times, but still that for anybody that's going to be like with me though, that you'll go to the school, and maybe that some kids, but they know you quite a bit just by your artwork. They don't really know you very well compared to what you call, oh yeah, you played kickball a lot of times, or you played foursquare a lot of times. But yeah, a lot of times I played at tetherball and I played foursquare, and then that's the thing that a lot of this, and I know I showed quite a few people, quite a few kids here about the playground set that back when I was going there, it looked more like this to where the soccer field was there, but a lot of this playground set right here was not there before, and so quite a bit of it probably has changed, from over the years, especially a lot of playground, improvements. But I guess you like one toward it. Anything, trees. I'm sure there's quite a few trees, and a lot of shaded areas, around the playground equipment also. But if anybody wonders as toward it, how come you did not include that? I'm like, really that I didn't really spend a whole lot of time putting in every little detail, and I just really that if anybody wants us toward it, yeah, I can draw like a tree right here, but still that the trees. I know it's like the trees are there, and which I know more likely that because whenever I was going there, that there was a couple of trees that were about right in there, and like I say that it was like a little backyard right there. Have right there is a playground, and if there's any kids that would be back there for any particular reason that they will be chasing after a ball or something like that. There was a ball that came out on the ground, and like one or yeah, that's that's just a thing about with the playground area right here. But anyway, and I tell anybody here that yeah that this is just like some ideas right here. Whenever I'm looking at this, I'm also thinking about is toward the playground. That, yeah, this I don't even think that this playground set is even there, but still that just talk about right here about for any source of free time that our kids, the elementary students that they could be getting, even online, and whenever they come to school to learn, and you warrant toward it. That especially they're still learning about how to play. I know all the other kids, especially on the playground, and one of the best ways, I guess, of how to do it is like say, hey, that you start talking to them and you start showing them a little about what you can do and what you're good at. But still, that and I know like any students that may want to where if they're going to be out on the playground, and that's the time to where that they are able to see some of their other classmates, some of the other students that they were not in school with them, and that they were not in class with them. They were not in class with them. That they were in separate classes. So I can remember doing that a lot of times whenever I was whenever I was going to Becky-David, whenever they would have activities going on, and they would even have a cycle break. That they would even have it to where that students would go from class to class, even though if they were in different classes, that once or twice that I can remember seeing a speech teacher that one time, and I remember going back to class, and I remember seeing different students in there, and I was like, "What happened? You know what? Yeah, these students like they don't look like the same students whenever I was here earlier." And I can remember the teacher had explained, "Well, although those students that you talk about, yeah, they're in the other class. They you saw that they had like four different classrooms where kids would transfer to, they would be moved to different classes. One of those reasons I think was because to where that there would be something going on at the school. The teachers would teach a certain story. I guess that they would move classroom from classroom to classroom. I guess for some certain purpose. And I guess I can't really explain about maybe why they did it, but I remember seeing that when I was going to school. Was toward that that there would be teachers there that they would have the students, but then they would students would they would move a few of these students in another classroom, and then they would get the teachers in. So I can remember that they did that quite a bit whenever I was going to Becky-David, and so it's like you say, yeah, well, you think about like you think that this teacher's pretty nice, and then they move you to another classroom, and maybe for a test or something like that, or maybe for a special event or an activity going on, maybe for Christmas time, and they're gonna move you to another classroom, and then you're gonna be working with another teacher there for a couple of hours, and you're like, we were, Tori, yeah, what do you think about that teacher? So if anybody wants to, or whenever you're in school, that you may think that you had the same old thing, and like, well, that you may have a variety too. You may have, that teacher may not be your actual real teacher, but still that you may have her that you were in her class working on something, maybe to take a test, and so you're able to say that yeah, well, if you like her or she's nice, and or did she explain the assignment very well? So that's just the thing that I remember a lot of that. But anyway, enough with me talking. But anyway, about a lot of things that I can remember about Becky-David, especially, and if anybody wants is toward it, yeah, about anything further that you want to talk about Cosley Elementary, and as well as for Henderson. But anyway, but thanks for watching, everyone. Maddie Mick, and then Matthew 31 here, and have a great day.